So good evening, everyone, and a big welcome to this pre-launch webinar for BlackBrick Umhlanga. My name is Stefan Boetzer, and I'm Director of Rainmaker Marketing. And I know quite a few of you are still joining digitally as we speak, but really excited to have all of you here. So it's quite a significant time for the property market in KZN. I mean, we've got a new government of national unity, which is significant for the country as a whole, but very specifically for KZN as a province. We've got interest rates that are on a downward spiral or a downward slope, which we know has a huge catalytic impact on the property market as a whole. We're in a province which has had some significant catalytic infrastructural announcements in recent times, like, for example, the first club in South Africa, which is going at a rapid rate in the North Coast. And then we've seen renewed positivity and sentiment that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. And it all works really, really well for the first launch of significance in quite some time within KZN from a residential apartment perspective, especially within an area like Umhlanga, which has always been seen as a catalytic node of excellence within the country in terms of the property market and its performance. And it really is underpinned by this massive, massive pre-launch hype that we've had for BlackBrick Umhlanga. We're launching on the 2nd of November, which is just over a week away. We've had 2,500 registrations on the website. We've had more than 250 people who've signed up for the marketplace, which is the online launch platform, and exceptionally excited. And tonight was really an opportunity to give all of you a very unique insight to the product, to be able to hear it directly from the developer, the architectural team, someone who's very close to the sales side, and just be able to answer any questions you specifically have, to be able to give you all the tools that you need come launch on the 2nd, where effectively everyone has the opportunity, equal opportunity on the day to purchase online or via the sales office, which we'll talk about in a second. And I think just a little bit of context. I know Andrew Patterson from the Rainmaker team, I mean, him and I were in the US, and we're talking to the guys the other day about it, where South Florida, the big craze there is branded residences, and where hotel brands, car brands, high-end brands are all linked to residential buildings. And what it does, it accelerates rates of sale, but also creates a premium in terms of pricing achieved, just because of the high demand factor that comes with it. And that trend is effectively what has been brought into South Africa through BlackBrick in terms of branded residences linked in a part to hotel concept. And it just has a massive impact into the desirability of the product offering. And that's something we're really, really seeing, and something we're all pretty excited about. So I think tonight I'll just be facilitating the discussion. By way of introduction, Jonathan Lieberman, who's the co-founder and CEO of BlackBrick Global, and really the visionary behind not only BlackBrick Umhlanga, but all the BlackBrick products. So Jonathan, how's it?
How's it, Steph? Thanks for hosting the webinar. I'm excited to be on this panel with everyone.
And then Andrew Macon, who's sitting in Mexico and self-proclaimed digital nomad. And really, it inspires and sort of talks about the ethos of BlackBrick in terms of bringing the best of international trends and inspirations and teams and so forth. Andrew's the director of system architecture and a team that has a footprint globally, and I know also has roots in KZN. So it really is a story of BlackBrick coming home and really bringing all the best of everywhere into a very proudly KZN product. So how's it, Andrew?
Thanks, Steph. Hello, everybody.
And then Andrew Patterson from the Rainmaker marketing team.
How's it, everyone?
So guys, we're gonna try and keep this pretty short and simple, probably about 45 to 50 minutes. I'm going to address some questions to the team in terms of stuff that I think is relevant and really want to get answers on, but really, really ask you to post as many questions you possibly have in the chat function at the bottom. We're going to try and get through as many of those as possible, and anything that we don't get to, we'll try and address in the mailers leading up to launch. There will be a recording of this webinar, so if you want to pass it on to family or friends or anyone who you think is interested, you'll receive that in your inbox tomorrow, together with a post-webinar intro or mailer. And yeah, we're just going to go through the process. I think Jonathan, I'm going to start with you and get going. I think the first question is really, what has inspired the BlackBrick apart hotel model, and how does it differ from the traditional property or residential model that we see elsewhere?
Yeah, so the BlackBrick concept was inspired by our personal experience, both mine and my co-founder, Moritz Valensik. And really, it's based on our experience of living and working between cities. We've been living that way for a very long time, but we didn't have a product that met the needs, met our own personal needs. So we met in 2018. And the first thing we said to each other is like, let's build something that really will work for ourselves. And that was the first BlackBrick in Sandton. That was 208 hotel style apartments. That went really well. We sold that building out in the first 35 days of launch. So quite early on, we saw that we weren't the only ones that were looking for a live work type lifestyle where one could move freely between cities. We set out our vision of a global network from that first building, and that really resonated with a lot of people. We've focused the next 5 years on building the South African network, but the real big vision here remains a global network where our members can live and work freely between cities. It's quite fortuitous to have Andrew on the call, because we crystallized this vision of a global network when we meant to go and visit Andrew in Mexico City in 2021. Up until that point, the vision was it was there, but it hadn't really felt like it was real. But when we met with him in Mexico City, we sat down and we designed not just what a typical BlackBrick building could look like, but really what the greater ecosystem could mean for our members over time. So it's still early days. We're launching our 6th building now, but we're on a mission to deliver the world's first global network for digital nomads.
Okay, and I mean, I know that there are lots of locations that are being rolled out nationally and internationally, but I know that Umhlanga is a very special place for you. And what was the key decision driving this particular project?
So the first 2 cities that we've built our first 5 projects in were Johannesburg and Cape Town. Those are essentially, I think, the 2 biggest markets right now, but Durban's very close behind. Sometimes people even see, I think, KZN as a bigger economy than the Western Cape. So as our 3rd city in South Africa, it was a no-brainer to come to Durban from an economic perspective. It's where most of our members want to be as they move, across South Africa. And then on a personal level, I grew up in Durban. So I spent the first 15 years of my life there. Actually grew up in Umhlanga on Marine Drive, living in lots of different apartment buildings with my mom and my brother. And then unbelievably, my mother's fashion design studio was at the exact building that's becoming BlackBrick Umhlanga. So after school every day for the first 7 years of my life, I literally used to come to this building. So I'm deeply connected to it, and set out to acquire the building 5 years ago. So it took some time to secure the deal, but given its location in Lower Umhlanga, we had looked at deals in Umhlanga Ridge for quite a while, but we thought that Lower Umhlanga, like the old Umhlanga proper, was a much better fit for our community of people that are really looking to live and work in the same building. They're looking to mix business and leisure, and that site, 100 meters away from the village, 450 meters away from the beach, gives them that best of both worlds between work and play.
Yeah, and then, I mean, and I'm going to refer to Andrew Macon as Andrew, and I'm going to refer to Andrew Patterson as AP, just so we're clear. But Andrew, I mean, just in terms, I mean, I think everyone's always fascinated behind the design philosophy around the building. And I mean, if people look at where we are sitting, I mean, I'm sitting on the 10th floor, the rooftop. Jonathan and Andrew are sitting in the 2 facilities on the 1st floor, and then obviously Andrew's looking back at the building, which is a very, very unique building in terms of facade and everything like that. I mean, what inspired the building?
BlackBrick is redefining what apart hotels are in the digital epoch, in the digital economy, in the digital society. BlackBrick's core purpose and mission is to fundamentally enable the lives of people like me, of the massive market of economic nomads across the planet who currently have no suitable home. These people, as I say, of which I am one, we want a home to live in wherever we move in the world. We don't want to be in a hotel room. We don't want to be in an arbitrary Airbnb apartment. We want a home wherever we are. We want to feel like we truly belong wherever we are. And we want to feel like we belong because we know how crucially important belonging is to our life satisfaction, to our happiness, to our mental and physical health, even to our longevity, and of course to our productivity. There's no other product that offers that sense of belonging than BlackBrick. These nomads like me, we are also people that depend on and are addicted to continuous intellectual, business, spiritual, emotional stimulation and growth and well-being. And we need this so much because we are insatiably curious human beings. We know that knowledge and the knowledge that comes from rich varieties of experiences are super powerful to us. And BlackBrick's global network will provide that deep variety, local experiences. People come to Mexico City, Tokyo, Berlin, Bombay, Mumbai, I suppose I should say, Sao Paulo, Cape Town, Durban, and through BlackBrick immerse themselves into a richness that no other network can provide us.
Yeah.
And this is precisely what BlackBrick's design philosophy is based on. It's based on that. And the design of this building satisfies all of those needs in every one of its conceptions in its design.
Okay. And Andrew, I mean, I know, and Jonathan will talk about the facilities a little bit in a second. We'll talk about how all that comes through, and we'll talk about how that universal network, and I think it talks exactly to what Andrew is saying. And I know just from a questions perspective, just to let everyone know, there are quite a lot of questions that have come through, which you will answer. We're going to move quite heavily into product and configuration and leading up to launch, but there's questions around the expected rates of investment, the unit size and layouts, the amenities, how the properties will be managed, and I'll get to all of those specifically, the costs associated with the purchase, how BlackBrick's expected to grow. But I mean, I think AP is going to bring you in here in terms of we've seen such a high demand. I mean, we are a week away from launch. Like I said, 2,500 registrations. We're expecting an exceptional launch, and we're expecting it to be first come, first serve, and a huge take up. What's driving that demand?
Thanks, Steph. And yeah, I mean, I think both yourself, Jonathan, and Andrew actually touched on it sort of indirectly with the specific locations. But I think, you know, part and parcel, there's the part hotel as an attractive investment. But I think what I want to start off with is basically the Umhlanga region and why that's such a you know, property investment destination. I think, you know, the strategic location, as Jonathan was saying, it's sort of a lower Umhlanga, the proximity to, you know, King Shark International Airport. So to Andrew's mention about like digital nomads and being able to have easy access via the N2 and the M4, you know, these are areas it's quick in and out, and you know the suitability of the environment and the ecosystem that BlackBrick has provided and will create is essentially, you know, suited to an individual who's looking to really explore the area, but also feel like they're not necessarily stuck and confined to a typical type of hotel, you know, unit or hotel apartment. I think, you know, Umhlanga as an area, it's an affluent suburb. I mean, we throw these words around here, but I think we can call it a pocket of excellence. And, you know, if you group the entire Ridgeside Umhlanga location together, and I think it's part of that global, I mean, sorry, it's part of that bigger sort of growth corridor that we see in KZN, and especially sort of, you know, starting from Umhlanga, building up all the way into the North Coast. So it's, you know, it's at the crux of what's happening with the development space within KZN and within sort of, South Africa as a whole. And like you mentioned earlier, Club Med, they've chosen KZN. They've chosen sort of a destination that is literally 30 minutes away from BlackBrick. So, it's there. There's a wealth concentration that elevates the area status. It attracts high net worth individuals. They're looking for premium property investments. And then there's a growth. I mean, Umhlanga's seen a growth of like 57% in the adult population over the last 10 or 14 years, which just shows the strong demand for the sort of development opportunities for guys coming and looking for an environment that's going to create wealth. It's going to give good capital appreciation, but it's also suited to a demand that's not necessarily settled in the past, but that's looking towards the future. And we can't necessarily sort of forget about the lifestyle, the appeal of Umhlanga in general in terms of this, unique coastal lifestyle, world-class amenities. There's shopping, there's close healthcare, leisure. You've got one of the largest sort of regional centers or the regional malls of KZN, if not South Africa, in terms of gateway theatre of shopping. And I mean, it's got a family-friendly sort of reputation. It's safe. It's popular location for guys relocating from Gauteng because of the weather, the environment, all of that. And so it does sit and fit in with that sort of general semigration trend from, people coming from outer lying areas through and settling into a location that is like ideal from all aspects of property and investment. I guess, I mean, going into the apart hotel component, there's this whole flexible model. Investors ideally are looking for a great return on investment, but everyone also is looking for sort of a hassle-free environment as well, where they're not necessarily having to deal with the day-to-day admin or anything like that. And I think BlackBrick has, over their previous projects and their previous locations have evolved, and they've nurtured and they've created this club and this experience and this ecosystem that really has thrived in terms of providing, this property ownership where it's fully managed. It's a hotel-like experience, but you're living in sort of this residential environment. It's suited to the short-term guys looking for a weekend getaway, but it's also suited for digital nomads who are traveling into South Africa, visiting Durban for a month, visiting Cape Town for a month. And I think, that's really a key sort of element to it. And I mean, from an investment perspective, when you're looking about returns, I think from a short-term basis, we've seen that there are other opportunities in Umhlanga specifically, where they're seeing occupancy rates between 80 and 95%. I mean, and that's on average. And some of them are some of the best performing sort of locations in the country. And I think that's going to filter through into BlackBrick, especially with the its unique offering. It's innovative. It's out there with what people are looking. It's going to disrupt the market a little bit, I think. I mean, I guess, like I was saying, that capital appreciation with Umhlanga, it's significant. I mean, we're seeing that there is growth within the sectional title sort of units within the Greater Umhlanga area. And I think, that rental income from both potentially a longer term rental income, but also specifically that short-term rental income and the revenue that's going to be generated through the BlackBrick, sort of, ecosystem, but also just the demand that Umhlanga has for people wanting to come and visit, is truly going to show a really good investment opportunity, from, year on year on year on year.
Yeah. And I mean, Jonathan, I'm going to ask you about facilities in a second, because I mean, that underpins a huge amount. But I mean, I think for anyone watching, I mean, the fundamentals, we all know about location. And I think that we've taken a very key location and added another facet to it in terms of being at the right side, the proximity, the walking distance, and so forth. But when you look at an investment, you're always looking at off-plan, because you have the benefits to see capital appreciation between when you secure your purchase price at launch and the value of it when the building is completed. And we can talk about timelines in a second. But you're also looking at the rental return and the yield. And I think where we're so excited about the part hotel concept is you have the ability to combine the high demand area like Umhlanga. And I think, like Andrew had said, is you've got like the Capital, which I think is their best performing hotel in the country right now. You've got the pro-tier hotels, you've got various different things that are skyrocketing in terms of occupancies just because of the core demand of Umhlanga as a holiday destination. And you manage to combine that with the benefits of a bricks and mortar investment off plan and a self-managed, easy, hassle-free solution. And you've really got a power combo. And I think that's why, and I think that just talks to what everyone's saying in terms of underpinning why we've got such huge interest in this product. And Jonathan, I mean, the facilities are something that you guys take very seriously. And I mean, just to touch on that, you can see a lot of those where we're sitting virtually, but just the detail that's gone into those.
Yeah, so all BlackBrick buildings come standard with facilities like our rooftop bar. So behind Steph is the rooftop bar. And then on the ground floor, which in this building's actually been raised, the ground floor here almost operates at the first floor level on a podium. There we've got our restaurant, which integrates with the reception lobby space. So you kind of come into this vibrant atmosphere at the entrance. And then we've got workspaces and meeting rooms, which are really the core of our facilities. Most of our members and guests are using the buildings to live and work at the same time. So the workspaces are a key differentiator. I mean, I've been staying at a number of different hotels in Umhlanga over the last 3 months as I've been coming to visit a lot. And I can tell you none of those buildings have properly designed workspaces. So I'm always finding myself working from coffee shops in the village, which is nice. But, at some point you need a proper meeting room and a proper desk. And so we put most of our space on the first floor into meeting rooms, co-working desks. And then from a lifestyle perspective, we've got our boxing gym and then a wellness corner where you can get a massage and then topping it off with an outdoor gym, which is next to the natural swimming pool. So we've actually designed a swimming pool that's inspired by the bush, the Hawaiian forest to the north of us, where we've all spent a lot of time going for runs, and we've taken in that inspiration in weaving that into the design of that space, and also even into the room. So if you look at the apartments, they've got this kind of excessive veranda area. So we've gone for a much bigger outdoor area as a ratio between the indoor and outdoor space. And the idea behind that is to really blur the lines between being outside and inside and connecting with the tropical climate of Umhlanga.
Okay, and yeah, and I think what you guys have done is unbelievable. And AP, just a quick one in terms of quite a few questions here around unit sizes, layouts. I think we've touched on amenities, but can you just go into that? I mean, I know prior to the end of this, we're going to go to the marketplace and show guys how to search and so forth. But can you just touch high level? What products are available, what sizes and what prices?
Yeah, thanks. So I mean, there's the structure has been created specifically towards that short-term hospitality type environment with a truly BlackBrick residential feel. So we've got one bed, one bath, and two bed, two bath options. We've got 81 units in total, apart hotel units. We've got 10 two bed, two baths, and we've got the rest are essentially 71 one beds. There are pretty unique opportunities in terms of the corner units that are facing the facade, both north and south. Those guys have a little bit extra detail. I know, Andrew and his team were actually working on it just even last night in terms of how to maximize the lights and you really sort of bring the outside elements of, a coastal environment through into the living environment. So there are those differentiators on the specific one beds and obviously the two beds at the top. The one beds are ranging from 34 squares and you've got one bed forest floor units, which is essentially on that podium level that Jonathan was talking about, which is slightly bigger at 44 squares. And then you've got a two bed, two bath, which is at 68 square meters. The price point is that we are starting one beds from that 1.495 million, and the two beds are essentially starting just under the 2 million. Yeah, that 2 million.
3.195.
3.195 million in terms of those two bed, two baths. Going into detail, we'll be able to show exactly like unit layouts and configurations when you go through the online property marketplace in a bit. Guys will be able to get a visual understanding of exactly the layout, the floor configuration, and so on.
Okay.
Steph, can I just add to the value of it?
I mean, I always want to know from the architect where the gems.
Yeah. So, you know, when we were talking earlier about us digital nomads, and I think, you know, everybody, when you go to a place where you would have the option of a hotel with its front door and its cupboards on the left and bathroom on the right, and, you know, fire door and corridor and passage to enter, and then you get to the living and bedroom space, and maybe there's a view out of there. This is nothing like that. What we're making is houses. So we've got 32 square meter houses. So if you think that what happened in the digital world is in some moment they turn huge mainframe computers and the power of those into the size of a watch on your wrist, and they kind of squashed all that capacity into a small thing, we have taken every piece of a house and put it into 32 square meters. You don't enter off a corridor passage, you enter off a sidewalk as if you're walking along the street. You don't just open your door off a passage. There's a voorstoep, a planted space in front of your apartment. You can put your things down, you can get your keys out, you can open your door. It's green, it's your own space. You enter into living, dining, cooking, entertaining, receiving space, where in fact another person can sleep. It's full of light. It's the western sun and the late afternoon beams into that. The whole apartment is cross-ventilated. There's no internal space that's not cross-ventilated. There's no internal space without natural light. The bedroom space opens onto the big terrace Jonathan talked about it. Think of it like as a back garden in a way of a house. Fully planted up, luxurious furniture to lounge on or to work from. In every component of the BlackBrick apartment is a small version of every component of a proper house. And so that is radically differentiated in the market. It is a combination of total privacy, like in your own house, and then that house, or these 80 odd, whatever AP said the numbers were, of apartments in a neighborhood of BlackBrick, the BlackBrick neighborhood, which is what Jonathan described. There's the landscape level, which all the things he described, the natural pool, like you're swimming in a wetland, the boxing gym, the meeting rooms, the cafe, all of those things. And then on the roof, the rooftop piazza with its own dipping pool and bar and event space. It is all of one's requirements met in one location, which, as Jonathan said, is itself only 400 meters from the main drag of Umhlanga village. So it is a complete home from home.
Yeah. No, 100%. No, thanks. I mean, I think we can see how much passion has gone into this and how much detail has gone into this. Jonathan, I just want to ask you, I mean, there are a couple of questions here around understanding the returns and the management and all that kind of stuff, and they're all very relevant. I think it's everyone should wrap their head around what it means to invest into part hotel. So similar questions between Anonymous and between Joanna Majola, but I'm just going to ask Joanna. So Joanna's got two questions here. She says, so she buys a one-bed in Umhlanga, can she go stay in Sandton, as an example? And how does it work in terms of payouts? Are the payouts linked to occupancies, etc., and how they're calculated?
So I think one of the things that makes an investment into BlackBrick unique is that as an owner member, you get 10 days free to use anywhere in the BlackBrick network. So if Joanne buys into BlackBrick Umhlanga, she could use those 10 days in Joburg or Cape Town, and there's no cost to that. So that's just an added benefit. And then she would also get access to all of our facilities. So all of our shared spaces, you get a membership card. And when she's in let's say she wasn't staying at one of our buildings in Joburg, she was staying at another hotel, she could still go and work from our spaces in Joburg or our spaces in Cape Town. And as we expand the brand globally, those workspaces will be accessible to South African members as well. In terms of figuring out returns, so each apartment is going to be priced differently based on the floors. just as how they are from a selling price perspective. So as you go up, the selling prices get higher, and the same will happen when we price them from a rental perspective. So whatever your rental is exactly what you'll receive on a monthly basis, less, of course, all of the costs. Our management fees are 15% of the rental. So we take that off. We take all of the operating expenses, like the staff and the water, electricity, laundry, cleaning, all of that stuff comes off. And then you're left with the net rental that we pay on the 20th of the following month.
And does the owner have to worry about anything cost-wise? I mean, in terms of or admin-wise?
So the only admin that an owner would have to do is pay their monthly rates and monthly levies. We take care of everything else. So there's no maintenance. All of the maintenance is handled within the hotel operations.
Okay. And then, Jonathan, just a question from Sonia in regards to furniture. And just the question is that provided and included in the purchase price?
Yeah, so all of the apartments come fully furnished with a furniture pack designed together with system architecture. So we've got a whole turnkey design partnership that we've developed with them, and that extends into the furniture packs as well. And we think that the furniture in this project is going to be the best that we've delivered to date. We've got a company called Modular Made that's going to be making some of the pieces. Very exciting new business, as well as a furniture company from Johannesburg called Umhlanga, who's going to be providing some of the kind of like more wooden textured pieces in the apartments.
And I mean, those internal renders that we've done, that's pretty much depicting what you're getting, correct?
Yeah, so we've developed the design extensively before launch. So I think it'll be very accurate within 5 to 10% of what you can see in the renders.
Okay. And just before we ask AP about costs, good question here from Ninja Sharani. Excuse me if I didn't get the pronunciation 100% right there, but if I own 4 units in different cities, does it mean I have 40 days to use or only 10?
Yeah, so with every unit that you own in the BlackBrick network, you get 10 days to use annually. So like we actually had one buyer, for example, who's actually an owner in Sandton, ended up buying 5 units at our BlackBrick and Gardens. They bought the whole top floor, and so they're going to get 60 days to use per year now, 10 from the first purchase, and then another 50 from the next 5.
Okay. AP, I'm going to combine 2 questions here. So from what floor will someone have sea views? And secondly, what are the costs associated with purchasing in terms of transfer costs, levies, rates, etc.?
Great question. I think it's credit to both Jonathan and Andrew for creating a product that literally has sea views from each and every floor, or at least partial sea views. If you think about where Jonathan is right now, you look at podium level, you'd be able to see the blueness of the Indian Ocean. And I think going up to the 10th floor, across the floor scape, you're going to be able to get the sort of 180-degree panoramic overview of the Indian Ocean and the Great Umhlanga area. And I mean, I've stood in where the current sales gallery is, which is where the site is currently, which essentially is going to become almost the 2nd floor. You can stand in the corner and pretty much see all the way out to the point in terms of your view on a good day, looking out towards the bluff and looking up left, going all the way up through to sort of towards Umhloti and the Umhlanga Lagoon area. So you really are encapsulated by this ocean of blue, which is it's so unique, especially you're sitting probably about 300-400 meters from the village itself and another 100 meters from the promenade, but you're still getting that full-on oceanfront coastal sort of experience from the get-go, especially whatever floor you're on. And then from a cost perspective, going into that quickly, is that with traditional property purchasing, you are liable for certain amounts of costs, which are traditionally your bond and transfer costs. As this is direct from the developer and off plan, there is no transfer duty, and there are the way that we have created this product here is that we have got transfer costs are included in the actual the offering. It's a value add, as you know, as part of the sort of included the 10-day free options to visit the rest of the BlackBrick portfolio. And then yeah, so the only cost essentially will be your bond registration. And again, for those sort of considering about getting finance, we have partnered with one of South Africa's sort of largest mortgage originators, which is Uber. And essentially, if you are thinking about financing your apart hotel unit at BlackBrick, you will be required to secure your mortgage or your home loan within 30 days of signing your agreement from the 2nd of November. And then you actually don't have to worry about that. You don't have to service your bond. You don't have to pay in anything until the attorneys, who are Strauss Daly from Cape, you know, they will call for it sort of about 30 days before transfer takes place. And just from a timeline perspective, I think just to sort of consolidate that all, I think we're looking to, obviously this is, you know, there's a bit of demolition that needs to take place. You know, so we're expecting to commence with that in the middle of next year, so July 2025, with approximately about an 18-month build time. So in terms of your time frames and how you're planning your finances and how you serving your ability to, you know, pay off or, you know, get started on your bond payments, you're only looking at approximately, if you're securing now on the 2nd, you know, in about, you know, 2 and a bit months time, or 2 years and a few months time, will essentially be the first time that you're actually starting to have to service any financial obligations for BlackBrick Umhlanga.
Okay. So there's some really good questions here. So I'll put a lot back to you guys, and you have to decide who answers. But I think a couple of questions. Okay, so Sonia's asked about she talked about T's and C's of the sale agreement. She has some questions around that. And Sonia, I think I'm going to ask the team just to post the details of the sales team. There is a really, really well-equipped sales office in the actual BlackBrick building. I mean, Andrew mentioned that building will be demolished and rebuilt. So you're getting a new build, which is also a really exciting thing. But the sales team will be able to row in, and the guys will be able to go through a sales agreement with you in detail. It'll also be shared with everyone prior to launch in terms of a checklist of what you need to be preparing for launch, what you need to be going through, etc., etc. So the sales team will be able to talk through all of that with you, and obviously the attorney firm to support that in terms of how that's been structured. Jonathan, in terms of the transfer process, how long will it be before guys are taking transfer? I know there's been a question asked around occupational rental. I know it's no developer's intention to charge occupational rental and to rather transfer, but what's the expected completion date?
So we're expecting to start construction in the middle of next year, and the projected program from there is, I think, 14 to 16 months. So call it September 26 would be the completion date.
Okay, 100. And I think for anyone, I mean, I know there are quite a few questions here, one anonymous, which I'm going to ask in a sec. I think what's important to understand is that when you look at pockets of excellence, capital appreciation is happening. I think Umhlanga is averaging 67% per annum in terms of sectional title appreciation. So for someone who can put down a much smaller amount and get capital appreciation on the full amount, is a huge benefit. So it actually works really well. The longer the I mean, you don't want too long a transfer time, but you've seen the capital appreciation, but locking in today's price. So I think that's what Anonymous asked in terms of, good question. What's the lowest price I can purchase for, but still get a sea view? And what deposit will you need as a holding deposit for the period between now and transfer when you start servicing your bond? I don't know, Jonathan, Andrew, you
I think the entry level for a sea view is 1.695 million. 76 out of 81 of the apartments have sea views. So it's only the 5 units on the first floor that are facing the forest that are priced at that 1495 level. But yeah, so it starts at 1695, and then it kind of goes up by like between 50 and 100,000 rand as you go up per floor.
Okay, perfect. I think questions around parking bay. Maybe Andrew or Jonathan can answer that.
Yeah, so I mean, I can answer that. So I think there's quite a unique opportunity with the parking bays because you can almost classify it as an additional asset when you purchase at BlackBrick Hotel. So there are parking bays available for purchase at 125,000 Rand per bay. There's only 51 bays available. That's essentially going to be servicing the users and the tenants and the guys who are coming to stay at BlackBrick Umhlanga. But what happens is that BlackBrick Hotels actually then rents back those parking bays from the purchaser, from the owner, for approximately 800 Rand a month. So, you know, if you're kind of considering about a type of yield you're going to be getting from those parking bays at that return, it's probably about 7.6% year on year if that stays consistent. But I mean, it's something that obviously adds value to any sectional types or units, especially in an environment where parking becomes quite a desired element. I mean, if we look at Cape Town specifically, how those are just escalating just due to the lack of it. I'm not saying Umhlanga is going to lack parking in any way, but I think proximity and convenience is the name of the game here. So yeah, parking is available at 125,000 Rand per bay.
Yeah, and I guess that's a mindset shift, the sense that you are buying an apartment that you own that's going into a hotel management. So it's not the parking that you need for yourself, but it can be seen as an investment that you're going to get a really good return on. And Sonia, just in terms of your question, we'll make sure that someone contacts you with regards to those questions on the legal side. And then just in terms of minimum deposit, can you guys just clarify in terms of what the minimum deposit is if you can get a bond for the balance of the purchase price?
So so basically you need, in order to secure an apartment at BlackBrick Umhlanga, you need to pay a reservation deposit fee of 20,000 Rand. And essentially that secures your investment. You then have to sign your agreement, complete an initial or the annexures associated to that agreement of sale. And then you, as I said earlier, you essentially need to provide a finance from a bank within 30 days of that signature of the agreement, or you can pay cash or provide a cash guarantee, and that's usually within 7 days of the attorneys instructing you to provide that guarantee.
Yeah, and I think just to add, Dareshni, your question, exactly what you're saying. So you're putting a deposit amount into a trust account now with attorneys, and that's your deposit, but you're locking in the full value, and you only have to service your bond in the date that Jonathan mentioned. Like Andrew said, a lot of people will get 100% bonds, so the bank will be very happy with their 20,000 Rand deposit, is subject to getting a bank approval now for the balance of purchase price. But a bank might come to you and say, based on affordability, they require 10% deposit. So it'll all be based on your criteria as to whether you have to top up the 20,000 Rand. But the minimum requirement for the developer is 20,000 Rand.
And I think just on that point, Steph, is that because we've partnered with Uber, we've got a dedicated OBI link, which is essentially their bond indicator, which it allows you to go and check your credit rating and your affordability. So it gives you a good sense check in terms of where your actual affordability lies within the opportunities available. And then it preempts the actual bond and the sort of the submission process. So it sort of streamlines the time it takes for you to actually start applying to all the different banks and getting it going. So that is also something that can be helpful, and that can be found on our website at bbumhlanga.co.za.
Yeah, 100%. I want to just ask one or two more questions, and then I want to get onto what the process is between now and launch, which is pretty critical. And I'm sorry if I don't get through everyone's questions. I think Darashni's one question, Jonathan, she says, sorry, came in late. Does it allow for Airbnb options since it's furnished apartments? I think it's important to address that in the sense that we're going for a very specific short-term rental solution.
Yeah, so one of the rules at BlackBrick is that any short-term rentals are done by BlackBrick's operating company. So you can't Airbnb your own units. And the idea behind that is we're trying to create one consistent brand standard, one consistent operating model in the building. You know, if you go to a lot of these buildings where there's multiple Airbnb operators and people managing their own units, I think it's very complex to manage. You can't really... nobody knows who's actually in the building at any time. It's not safe. And we've got a very specific product that we've designed, and we are well prepared to operate that. Individuals aren't qualified to operate this particular product. Of course, Airbnb's got a place, and there's, if somebody wants to do that, there's many buildings you can, but we use Airbnb as one of our booking channels. So we'll put your unit onto Airbnb. We'll also put it onto booking.com. We get about 25 or 30% of our bookings through those channels. We also do a lot of bookings with corporates and relocation agencies, embassies, so people that are aggregators of these types of users. We're connected to all of those people, travel agencies. But yeah, so Airbnb, you get the upside of Airbnb by having BlackBrick manage your unit, but you can't use Airbnb yourself. There is an option for you to manage your apartment yourself if it's going to be a long-term rental, but we only see that as something from year 2. So for the first year, we're selling all of the apartments on our short-term rental platform, fully furnished, and we'll manage it as an apartment hotel for that year. Later on, if you decide to change your mind, you want to live in the apartment yourself, or you might want to get a long-term tenant, you're looking for, much more, let's say, consistent return as opposed to the more, let's say, up and down return of a hotel return, then you can do that, but no short-term rentals from individuals.
I'm just going to jump in there quickly. I think the word flexibility that Jonathan mentioned there, I think, everyone understands the value in investing in property. I think it is one of the greater wealth generators in terms of the types of investments that you can do. But what people don't sort of always understand is the dedication and the commitment that's required, especially if you're going down that short-term route in terms of servicing and check-in and check-out and cleaning and just the admin that goes with booking and marketing and all of that kind of stuff. And I think what BlackBrick Hotels and BlackBrick in general provide is a solution that's flexible, it's convenient, and it's very lifestyle driven in terms of how this investment model is catered specifically for those looking for a sort of a hassle-free investment option. And I think that's pretty critical for guys to understand, is that, you're combining residential, but you've also got experienced hospitality professionals here who are providing a solution that isn't necessarily just thumbsucked out of yesterday. It's come from years of experience. It's years of design. It's, hours and hours and hours of actually trying to configure something that is geared actually exactly like what Andrew was saying, is for a type of individual, an investor who's looking for an appreciation, who's looking to provide an environment that's suited for their personal needs and requirements, and within a location that is like second to none. That's just my 2 cents on that.
No, I agree with you. And I think just because it is an important thing, is I think we've done so much research on the returns for owners on different solutions, long-term versus short-term. It's undoubtedly that in most cases, the guys who get short-term solutions get a higher return. But if you look at the solution that works best in the interest of owners, it is a managed short-term solution like what BlackBrick are offering. We find that in many cases, people think that if they can manage their own Airbnb or bookings.com, it's in the best interest of them, because they might not necessarily have a management fee associated with it, but they're still going to have a platform fee. But what happens in buildings is that people end up undercutting themselves in terms of pricing, but also there's not consistency when it comes to imagery and how units are showcased, but there's also no economies of scale in terms of the cost to market the product as a whole. And the RevPAR, which is a combination between occupancy and room rate achieved per night, is significantly higher when it's done through a consolidated managed solution under a brand like a BlackBrick. And we've looked at scenarios locally and internationally, every single time it trumps. So if you're looking for the best solution for you as an owner, undoubtedly a consolidated management solution is the way to go. And then I think just in terms of I was going to pick one more question, and Jonathan, maybe for you, Joanna's asked the thing is, if she wants to sell an apartment in the future as an investor, what is the process? Does she secure her own agent? Is it an in-house solution? How would it work?
So in the midterm, BlackBrick's going to be starting our own, what we call our resales division, where we'll be able to resell the apartments when owners are looking to sell their assets. Right now, we don't have that option. We've got a close relationship with an agency called Lansdowne that does the resales for us in Joburg. but with over the next 18 months, by the time BlackBrick Umhlanga is opened, we would look to offer that solution.
Yeah, perfect. Guys, we're going to have to wrap up. I mean, although I believe it's quite important, everyone on here is wanting to know more information. But I think AP, run us through. We're sitting on, what date are we sitting on? The 24th, 26th. What are we today? Anyway, we've got a week left until launch. Week and 2 days. What is the process that happens between now and launch? And what does someone need to know? And how do they purchase in a second?
Cool. And I think what's important to also realize is because of the national footprint that BlackBrick has, we've got a national sort of sales consultant system and infrastructure that caters for guys in Gauteng who are looking to engage directly with someone in Gauteng, the same for Durban. So, you know, our Cape Town, our Durban sales consultants are Rowan Kenya, Cam Maharaj and Alicia Conti, and Joburg we've got Cam Heel. So those guys have got mountains of experience in terms of exactly the sort of the BlackBrick ethos and what the best investment opportunities are. So first and foremost, I think if you haven't been to the sales gallery, if you are intending to come through to Umhlanga in the next 7 days or so, I would highly recommend you go and chat to one of these guys. They'll be able to give you a comprehensive overview in terms of what the offering is. I think we've summarized it here within 45 minutes or so, but I think they'll be able to take their time and go through in detail exactly the questions that you are asking or looking for. But I think importantly, what's to know is that, as Steph's mentioned, is that the demand here, we've had an immense amount of interest in this. Like the leads are flying through in terms of over 2,500 people, 250 odd people have already signed up and created accounts for our property marketplace. So, over the course of the next, week or so, building up to the 2nd of November, I would recommend that you do create your account. You can, again, I think the links have been put on our chat at the bottom here, but even if you just go into bb-umhlanga.co.za, you can navigate to the purchase tab. From there, you'll be able to either register if you haven't created your sort of a profile yet, or you can just log in straight away. You'll then be able to sort of, view the entirety of the purchase opportunities that are available. And so you've reimagined this future, the future of property buying, almost like in tandem with what Andrew was saying about the future of what residential living and nomad living is like. So we've introduced a seamless online platform. Sort of it brings the entire process right to your fingertips. You can do it for the comfort of your own home, but it just allows you to sort of really reduce the hassle. So once you've registered, you'll be able to filter through the different purchase opportunities by price point, by floor, by unit type. You'll be able to understand the specific views from each apartment as well. So you'll get an indicative view from that particular apartment, and those are actual views with the drone flown up to that height, looking out over the Umhlanga area. I would then start wish listing and trying to sort of understand your desired apartment, and don't limit yourself to only one. I would pick at least your first, your second option, and your third option. There are only 81 opportunities available at the moment, sort of ever, for BlackBrick Umhlanga. So, based on the demand and where we see this product going, it is fastest fingers first for those looking to secure. Once you, I think, going into detail for the second, over the course of the next coming days, there's going to be a sequence of communications that are going to go out via email, via WhatsApp, via SMS, even finding information on the website about, how the actual day is going to work. So if you log on Saturday on the 2nd, you'll be able to, log into your account. You'll be able to browse through your available units. You can either click directly into your wish list and start the process of securing or reserving your unit right there and then. But once you've found your perfect unit, you can reserve it. You can then begin the process of securing it by paying your deposit reservation fee, which is 20,000 Rand. So again, low barrier to entry here, an exceptional value amount for the amount of investment opportunity that you are going to be getting. You then will be gone into a reservation status. So essentially, you'll have about 10 minutes to conclude the deal. And like any e-commerce type platform or online purchasing platform, you'll be required to put in some information, your name, your email address, your contact information, will then be transported through to our payment gateway. This is a secure payment environment where you'll put in your card details. You'll then have to be required to submit your OTP or your one-time PIN. So depending on your banking solution or your banking service, you'll either get an SMS or you'll have to confirm it via your banking app on your mobile phone. So pretty critical is make sure you have your phone like close by. I think another thing to sort of really take into consideration, making sure that you have increased your limits, especially if you're going to be securing it via your credit card or your debit account, making sure those digital limits are increased to above 20,000 Rand. You also have the ability to pay with instant EFT, so that can be a solution as well. Once you have concluded that sale, paid your deposit, you will get a notification, basically a congratulations email sent to you that will be a pre-populated agreement of sale. With basically instructions on what to do next. But once you've got that email, I think it's pretty critical to go through that agreement, complete it, making sure you're initialing each page, initialing wherever is a specific box required for initialing. The beauty about us having an on-site sales gallery is that we do have consultants available, not necessarily 24/7, but on call to help and assist you if you are having any issues. And we have got one of the most experienced conveyancing attorney professional law firms in the country in terms of Strauss Daly, who will also be able to provide assistance and credibility in terms of the process going forward. Once that's done, like I said earlier, 30 days from signature to secure your bond, or between 7 and 14 days to provide your cash deposit or cash guarantee, depending on when the attorneys instruct. And then essentially, I think FOSS, like I mentioned, Foster's finger first. So we're looking to really make sure that we really want you to make sure that you guys are ready and waiting. So I think we're going to be launching at 9 o'clock on Saturday. I would recommend that you have your tabs open, you logged in, you're ready, you're going to be refreshing as the clock strikes 9. Once you've refreshed, you'll be able to see a purchase or reserve button, and then essentially follow through. And again, what's critical, this type of information is going to be provided through to you via email. You'll get this ongoing in the next couple of days. You'll also be able to provide, you'll be able to find it on our website at bbumhlanga.co.za with a comprehensive overview of exactly how the process works. And there's even an instructional video, so you can visually understand exactly the process that will take place.
Cool, thank you. I think you covered that very well. So 9 o'clock on the 2nd. And yeah, I think like Andrew said, the link to the marketplace has been shared on the chat function. Set up your profile, go in and play around with. Like Andrew mentioned, the views from every single unit are on there. They're exactly as it is. They've gone up a drone to balcony level, so you know exactly what you're getting, incorporating all the renders and so forth. And on the day, that will obviously become a live availability in terms of as something reserved, it will be marked off immediately. And then, yeah, I mean, I think I know a couple of questions around recordings. We'll be sending the recording tomorrow. Everything has been recorded. You can send forward it, and it will come in the email that you receive to your inbox tomorrow morning, or around midday tomorrow. And then, yeah, I think I know I haven't been able to get through all questions, but I think we've covered a lot of ground, and hopefully it's given you guys unique insights. Andrew, thanks so much for your insights. I mean, you guys are the top of your game, and it's a huge privilege to be able to work with you guys on a project like this. Jonathan, thanks again for your time. AP for yours, and yeah, we're really looking forward to a hell of an exciting week leading up to launch, and to really setting a real new precedent for demand and uptake for residential product.
Awesome. Thanks, Steph.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Andrew, and thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks, everyone.
Cool, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a good evening.